The twin suns of Erythea dipped low into the horizon, painting the crystalline towers of the alien capital in molten gold and crimson. High above the city, the alien Queen Kalara stood on her balcony, her eyes scanning the approaching fleet of ships with a mixture of dread and hope. For months, the reports had been dire. Her daughter, Princess Lysera, had vanished on a diplomatic mission to the outer colonies. Entire worlds had been scoured, and yet there was no sign of the young heir. The tension had tightened around Kalara's heart like a vice, for every lost day threatened not only her daughter's life, but the fragile stability of her reign. A sudden flash of light in the sky drew her gaze. One of the ships, sleek and unfamiliar, glided through the atmosphere and landed gently in the palace courtyard. The palace guards tensed, but the vessel bore no markings of hostility. From within the ship, a figure emerged, a human. Kalara's elongated pupils narrowed. Humans were unpredictable, even dangerous, yet here he was, striding with confidence, as if he belonged. Then, behind him, came Lysera. Her armor was scorched and dented, her hair matted with dust and blood, but she was alive. She stumbled forward, and the human caught her effortlessly, supporting her with a strength that seemed unnatural. "Mother, I'm back," Lysera gasped, her voice trembling as tears welled in her eyes. Kalara's composure shattered. She ran down the balcony stairs, her wings spreading wide, and flung herself around her daughter. She wept openly, the sound piercing the quiet of the courtyard. "Lysera, my child, you've returned." Lysera turned her gaze toward the human. Her eyes, weary but resolute, met his. "It was him, Mother. He saved me." Kalara's eyes narrowed again, scrutinizing him. "A human? You mean to tell me a human brought my daughter back from the death worlds?" The man bowed slightly, his expression calm yet unreadable. "Your Majesty, she was in immediate danger. I had no choice but to intervene. My name is Captain Jaren Cole from the Terran Expeditionary Corps." Kalara's mind raced. The Terrans had long been considered both allies and wild cards in interstellar diplomacy. Humans rarely ventured this far into the Erythian system without reason. Yet here he was, holding her daughter as if she were the most fragile treasure in the universe. Despite herself, Kalara felt a flicker of gratitude and unease. Lysera, still weak, clutched her mother's scales and whispered, "Mother, please thank him. He risked everything." Kalara's regal posture wavered, and she inclined her head. "Captain Cole, I am grateful. Your courage has spared my daughter, and perhaps more. You may not realize it, but your actions today have altered the course of our world." Jaren nodded humbly. "It was my duty, and I owe her my life now as well, in a way." Kalara's mind spun with questions, but Lysera needed attention more than interrogation. She helped her daughter toward the palace infirmary, the human following silently, vigilant as ever. The journey through the palace corridors was punctuated by whispers from the servants and guards. A human in the royal chambers? He risked everything to save her? Even seasoned soldiers were awed, and some fearful. Once inside the infirmary, Lysera collapsed onto the healing bed. Kalara examined the burns and lacerations with a mixture of horror and relief. "You were inside the WIRM's maw," she murmured. I thought you were lost forever." Lysera's lips curved into a weak smile. Not forever, thanks to him. She looked at Jaren with a mixture of gratitude and something deeper, something Kalara did not yet understand. Jaren placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We were lucky. Too many variables could have gone wrong. But I'm trained for situations like these. Kalara studied him. Humans were unpredictable, sometimes reckless, sometimes brilliant, but he carried himself with an air of calm authority. There was a sharpness in his eyes, a perceptiveness that made her instinctively respect him. Yet beneath that, she sensed loyalty, a dedication to her daughter that was rare even among the most loyal Erythians. Over the next hours, Kalara and Jaren discussed the events that had led to Lysera's disappearance. Reports had indicated that a rogue faction from the neighboring star cluster had attacked the convoy, leaving no survivors. Lysera had survived, hiding in the wreckage, injured and alone, until Jaren arrived. His human team had fought through extreme conditions, navigating asteroid fields and hostile patrols to rescue her. The intricacy and danger of the operation left Kalara silently awed. Yet, as Kalara's gaze shifted to her daughter, she noticed a subtle shift in Lysera's expression, a mixture of relief and admiration toward Jaren. It was more than gratitude. There was a bond formed in the crucible of survival. Kalara felt a pang of unease. Would her daughter's future now intertwine with this human, perhaps in ways she could not control? Lysera, sensing her mother's concern, reached for her hand. Mother, he is unlike anyone I've met. I trusted him with my life, and he did not fail me. I need him to stay, at least until I recover fully. Kalara's wings drooped slightly. Duty and personal sentiment collided within her. But she knew she could not deny her daughter's wishes, not after seeing her alive. Very well, she said softly, her voice trembling with the weight of command and emotion. Captain Jaren, you may remain within the palace, but understand, your actions have placed you under our scrutiny as well as our protection. Jaren bowed once again, a faint smile on his lips. I understand, Your Majesty. My loyalty is to Princess Lysera first, then to you. Days passed, and Lysera's condition improved. During that time, the bond between human and princess strengthened. Jaren displayed not only exceptional skill in combat and strategy, but also a quiet empathy that resonated deeply with Lysera. They spoke of the stars, of humanity's distant worlds, and of the endless possibilities that survival and trust could forge. Kalara watched them closely, her motherly instincts torn between pride and concern. Then came the day of the ceremonial audience, where Lysera would publicly recount her ordeal. The palace was filled with dignitaries from across the Erythian territories, all curious to hear the tale of the miraculous rescue. Kalara, seated upon her throne, felt a mixture of apprehension and anticipation. Lysera rose, her wounds healed enough to stand proudly. She began recounting the attack, the ambush, and the desperate fight for survival. When she spoke of the moment Jaren saved her, the entire hall fell silent. She looked directly at him, her voice steady. He came when I had no hope. He fought through impossible odds, and he brought me home. Without him, I would not be standing before you today. The chamber erupted into applause. many delegates murmuring in disbelief that a human had performed such a feat. Kalara's own tears flowed freely. She rose from her throne and approached Jaren, placing a clawed hand gently upon his shoulder. "You have my gratitude, my respect, and perhaps someday my trust," she said, her voice carrying both authority and warmth. Jaren inclined his head, honoring the gesture. "I only did what was necessary, Your Majesty. That is all." Lysra stepped forward, taking Jaren's hand in hers. "Mother, he is my companion now, in life and in battle. I cannot imagine facing the worlds without him." Kalara looked at her daughter and the human who had defied impossible odds to save her. She saw love, loyalty, and courage entwined in a bond stronger than any political alliance. Though she wept for the dangers they had faced, she also wept in relief, knowing that her daughter's life and spirit had endured. That night, as the twin moons rose over the crystalline towers of the capital, Kalara returned to her balcony. She looked out over the city, now quiet and peaceful. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to hope, not just for her daughter's survival, but for the future of her world, guided by the bravery of an unexpected human ally. In the glow of the moons, Kalara whispered to the winds, "Mother, I am grateful for the life of my child, for the courage of a human, and for the bond that cannot be broken. The legend of this day will be remembered, and perhaps it will teach even the stars to bow to courage and love alike." The city slept, the stars shimmered, and somewhere within the palace, a princess and her human savior shared a quiet moment that would ripple through the history of Erythea forever.